Are you teaching all week, grading all night, and going to endless committees in between? Have you never taken a real vacation or enjoyed a weekend because you spend that time catching up on research? Hey, co-authors. In this episode, we're talking about how to manage your energy, not just your time, so your writing life becomes sustainable. Academia often rewards output over balance, but overwork doesn't make us better scholars. Producing better does, and better takes time, rest, and energy. So let's dive in. So whenever I first got my job, I remember working just an astronomical amount. I think for a lot of reasons. One was I think that there was this sense that I had that I was one of the very lucky ones that right out of my program, and in fact, I was still ABD, that I had landed a tenure track job. And so I felt like there was a lot of pressure to finish my dissertation so that way I could keep my job, but also just to sort of like overcompensate because I felt like in some ways that I didn't deserve what I had gotten. I felt this pressure to really overperform as a way of compensating for what I felt was the universe's largesse in me being able to obtain this position. And so I just remember I was teaching on an overload and then I was doing all of my grading at night and all of my classes, again, because I felt this pressure to be great. I had all these assignments and all these pedagogical activities and all of these essays and writings that I assigned students because I felt like that's what it meant to be a good teacher, was having students do a lot of work that in turn made me do a lot of work so I could show how busy I was. Weekends were usually me getting up and going straight to my favorite writing place. I'd write for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to make sure that I was keeping up with my research. If we got breaks, I didn't go on vacations. I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere because those were just times for me to catch up. Big breaks like summer, well, that was time for me to keep doing my research. The smaller breaks throughout the semester were all just times for me to catch up on grading or maybe do a little extra writing. But I really didn't have any real hobbies, no interests outside of just making sure that I lived day to day. I was just so tired that all I could do was either just veg out in front of the TV or play a video game. And if you're listening to this and you find yourself in this kind of trap too, maybe you're in your master's or doctoral program and you feel this pressure to always be productive, or maybe you're in your first job, or maybe even, your second or third, or whatever it might be. Maybe you feel this pressure to be productive and you don't really feel like you have the energy to get all of the things done that you want to get done. So you feel this constant sense of being behind and tired, maybe a little grumpy, always a little bit hungry. And this is unsustainable, right? It's unsustainable for you as a member of academia and as a person who wants to write and research and put your work out into the world for you to have this type of pressure on you. This is you. Just on the outset, I just want to make sure that you know producing more does not necessarily make you more valuable. Producing better work does, and producing better work takes time. And more importantly, it takes energy. And that energy comes from you being able to budget for it and to work in a way that is sustainable for you and protecting your own mental health. So that way you can come up with the best ideas, you can pursue those ideas and get those ideas out into the rest of the world. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how do we manage our energy and make sure that our writing is not just productive, but also sustainable. So let's dive in. Are you interested in mastering scholarly writing, developing productivity, and increasing impact, all while staying healthy? Then welcome to the Publishing Academic Research Podcast. My name is Dr. Kyle Ruddick, and I'm a full professor and writing coach who's dedicated to making sure you break through whatever is stopping you from reaching your scholarly goals. I meet so many scholars who have creative, innovative, and daring ideas, but can never seem to get those projects from proposals to print. I want you to get your work in the hands of people who will read it and appreciate it. So let's get into this week's big idea. So the first thing that I want to say before I really get into this topic is academia is like any other organization. And that is to say, every organization's first and foremost commitment is the perpetuation of that organization. It's not to serve people. It's not to serve its employees, not to serve its customers, not to serve its students. It's not there to fulfill its stated mission, vision, and purpose statement or anything else. The first imperative of any organization is the perpetuation of that organization. And so that being the case, what organizations thrive on is its ability to reward you at a rate that is less than your productive output and to put you in a place where you feel grateful and appreciative of being taken advantage of. This starts very early in academia, especially once you apply for your master's program, but particularly your doctoral program. You are inundated with messages about how much smarter you are than everyone else. You see further than everyone else, how you're better than everyone else, right? You are going to be a part of this rarefied elite group of people known as professors. But here's the kicker. There are more of you than there are jobs. So fight amongst yourselves and show which one of you is willing to be the most productive and the most loyal to this enterprise in order to achieve this casino's chance at getting the ultimate goal, which is this tenure track job. It puts us in a state of constant precarity, and as a result, makes it easier to extract our productivity from us. And so before we even get into the real problems that are animating this in your day-to-day life, it's just important to recognize that this is not a problem with you. This is not something that is unique to you. This is not something that is targeted at you. Instead, this is a system that, like any other system, is meant to extract these things from you. And if it can find ways of doing it, it will pat you on the back all the way to the point to where it pushes you off the cliff to find the next poor rube that will replace you. I don't mean to be so dark. Academia can be a good place to work, just like any other place, but that is more about the people who are around you in your department and the community that you have than it is about academia as a whole or your university as a whole. Okay, so let's talk about some of the problems that we get into with not being able to manage our energy properly. So the first symptom of not being able to manage our energy properly is that we get into the yes trap. And by that, I mean, whenever we are asked to do any sort of service, advising, extra teaching, any of these other things, our first reaction is always to say yes. And oftentimes there's a lot of pressure about this. I would say faculty who are untenured, female colleagues, and scholars of color, and other marginalized communities are at the most risk of being put into the trenches and pressured to say yes about things that do not serve their long-term career trajectory. And that's what's really important here to think about is that, there are 1,000,001 things that you can do to serve your institution, but those might not be things that actually serve you. So a good example of this is serving on a university-wide curricular committee about the general education requirements of your university. If you are pre-tenure and you find yourself spending an inordinate amount of time on a committee like this, these are oftentimes not good types of committees for people who are pre-tenure or who are not on tenure track. And the reason for that is because they take a lot of time, they consume a lot of energy, and yet they don't really produce anything that's tangible that you as an individual can point to and say, I did that, or because of my influence, this occurred. So it's very hard to put that on your CV and to use that then to market yourself for the next promotion or the next job or the next position, whatever it might be. And so those types of commitments are dead ends. Now, if you plan on, hey, this is the institution that I am going to retire at, I can't imagine going anywhere else, and all I want to do is make sure that this institution runs as well as possible. Hey, knock yourself out, right? Like, this is a good place to put your energy. But if you are on any level thinking, I could leave this institution in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then these types of committees, this type of work is going to be the exact type of work that keeps you at that place regardless of your intentions, because you are spending your time doing work that does not further your career, but instead furthers the organization's goals of operating better. So the second indicator that you are not managing your energy well is that you have inconsistent performance. You can see this especially with your writing time. So if you are having times whenever you get to write and you have these bursts of inspiration, bursts of writing, you get 2, 3, 500 words written, you get all your lab work done, whatever it might be. And then for the next 3 weeks, you don't get to write at all. That sort of inconsistency there is not going to serve you because A, you're not able to keep the thread of your work going across all of these different things. And as a result, then you're going to have gaps in that project that end up becoming fatal flaws for your project and increase its likelihood of getting rejected. And also, it's not a healthy place to be that you're vacillating back and forth between these up times where you feel like you're in this flow state, you're really getting things done. And in these down times, whenever it feels like every single word is a slog, and especially whenever you feel bad about your writing and you don't get to do it that often. And so you sit at a coffee shop or wherever is your writing nook and you don't get hardly anything done, then it feels like, oh man, I could have gotten my grading done. I could have mowed the lawn, or I could have spent time with my kids. I could have done literally anything but this and felt more productive. The third indicator that you're having problems with managing your energy is that you continue to have relational problems with others in your department. Whenever we don't have clear focus, whenever we don't feel like we're in control of our energy, whenever we feel unsure about what it is that we want to do with our time, then it becomes easier for other people then to dictate our time to us. So whenever they ask us to be a part of a committee that we don't want to be a part of, it's harder to say no to those things. And as a result, you end up becoming sort of the default helper of your department because everyone kind of dumps tasks on you, especially administrative bureaucratic tasks on you that they don't want to do. And because you don't feel like you are filling your time with the things that you want to do in your life, then you don't say no to all of this other busy work and frankly crap work that other people don't want to do that they're shuffling off on you. And so you start to really sort of overlook these red flags because you think to yourself, oh, I'm being indispensable to my department. I'm being a good team player. And you might even be called those things, but that's not really what's going on here. What's really going on is that you're being taken advantage of and that other people are able to do work that gets them recognition and status and rewards because they're foisting off all of the other stuff that don't give you any of those things onto you. Everyone just gets in the habit of dumping things off on you. But that's not to say that there are not people who are intentionally predatory and who seek out faculty members in their department, especially, again, junior faculty members or faculty members who don't have protections of tenure, and they try to foist this work on them so that way they don't have to do it because it has that twin purpose of A, it's establishing you as my subordinate, even though we are both faculty members in this department. By me offloading work onto you, I am indicating to you that you are my subordinate, which, quick side note, you are not. I don't care if you are an assistant prof and it's a full prof. You are not anyone's subordinate who is also a professor. There are clear administrative rules. You have your department heads, your deans, your provosts. Those are people who are on the org chart who can tell you what to do in certain circumstances. But other faculty members, that's not the case. They are the same status as you, even though they would like for you to believe otherwise, so they can do exactly this to you. But then the second purpose is to kill your CV and to make you less competitive on the job market, so that way you can't get away from them. So you are now in a position of subordination with another faculty member, and you can't leave because you've been given all this dead-end work, and your CV is not one that's going to shine on the marketplace. And so you're never going to be able to leave your department or your university. So all of these things together, these are indicators that you are not managing your energy correctly. And as a result, it leaves you in a place where it is easier to exploit you. It's harder for you to feel joy in your writing because of this inconsistent performance. And ultimately, it makes you vulnerable to other members of your department and especially predatory members of your department, and puts you in a place where it becomes almost impossible for you to get out of that situation absent exiting academia altogether or having other people hired into your department that ends up changing that culture. So we've talked about the problems now. Let's talk about some solutions that you can have in order to maintain your energy, manage it correctly, and make sure that you are protecting yourself as you're moving forward in your job. So the first thing that I would say before you do anything else is take the time to use a week and do an energy audit. And what I mean by that is keep track in a diary, in a journal, Excel spreadsheet, whatever thing that you take good notes in. And I want you to use a color coding system and use green if it is something that you use energy for that brought you joy. Use yellow if, maybe not joy, but not bad, right? Use red for those things that did not bring you joy, that brought you stress, made you feel bad, whatever it might be. Do an audit then of the things that you are doing in an average week using that system. And then after a week, take a look at it. What is it you're actually using your energy for? Where are you finding times to renew your energy? Where do you find yourself having energy peaks where you feel like you have the most energy? Where are the places that you have energy dips? For me, my energy dip day is Thursdays because I go to work and I'm up at the school usually from about 9 or 10 in the morning until about 8:30 at night. That's a dip day, man. Like I'm not going to get any writing done. I'm not going to do anything. And, again, whenever I was young, I was like, I've got this hour little spot right here. Maybe I could get a little writing in. And then I'd have that hour spot. And honestly, all I want to do is either try to take a little micro nap in my office or eat something so that way I could keep my energy up. And it took me a while to realize, man, this is just not a good day for this. Like there are days whenever I have the energy to think through my writing, even for an hour or two, in a way that on Thursdays, I just don't have time to do that. I'm doing pretty well if I teach my classes and I feel like I'm doing a good job with my students and I'm up on all the readings and I'm helping them work through difficult material and I'm really being present for the people who need me on that day. Other days of the week, I might be teaching, I might have meetings, I might have whatever, but those are usually my yellow days, right? But Thursday, that's a red day for me. Almost everything about that is a red for me because it's just a low energy day. So do this energy audit and really think to yourself, what is it that I'm getting out of my average week? The second thing that I would say is to utilize and weaponize your calendar. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first, utilize your calendar. I don't know about you, but whenever I very first started, I was like, I'm 29 years old. I've got the cat by the tail. I know what I'm all about. And I don't need no calendar. I don't need no planner. I don't need anything like that. I've got this all up in my noggin. And as you might imagine, I would miss meetings. I would drop the ball on projects, and not often, but man, whenever it happened, it would happen. And I would feel bad and I'd be upset and I'd feel guilty and I would really get mad at myself and sort of self-flagellate. Oh man, why didn't you remember that? Well, how about you just put it in a calendar, dude? Like put it in a calendar, put it in a planner. I put things now in my Google Calendar all the time and it's everything. Classes that I teach, meetings that I have with students, meetings that I have across campus, whatever it might be. Everything goes into the calendar. And I usually put 2 notifications in it. If it's something early in the morning, I make a notification to myself 24 hours in advance. That way I remember to set an alarm earlier in the mornings. That way I can get up earlier. And then I'll have another alarm 30 minutes before that meeting. So that way, even if I end up waking up at my normal time, then I'm probably still going to be able to see that in enough time that I can maybe not eat breakfast or anything, but at least make it up to the school or hop on Zoom or whatever it might be. And then meetings that I have throughout the day, I'll have a notification 10 minutes before the meeting, another notification 30 minutes before the meeting. I know I need multiple notifications to tell me where I need to be at any given time because I'm doing this podcast, I have my research, I'm a faculty member, I direct our graduate program, I'm the administrative fellow for my dean, I'm a journal editor, I've got a lot of hats on. And so if I don't have a calendar that's organized, then I don't know where to put my energy on certain days. And sometimes, especially if I know that I've got a meeting or if I have a meeting that is going to be especially difficult, other people that are in there are going to be particularly persnickety, whether that's a dean or a colleague that I disagree with on an issue. And so I know I'm going to have to get some emotional energy to do that thing. Then again, having that in my calendar helps me prepare for that. I'd also say, though, to weaponize your calendar. And what I mean by weaponize your calendar is a lot of people, especially if your organization uses a platform like Google Calendar, other people can see your calendar. Like they can see whenever you're busy, whenever you're in classes, whatever it might be. And so what they might think to themselves is if your calendar does not look like it's very full, oh, well, then that's a person who can do this thing for me. So what I would say is weaponize your calendar. So an example of this would be, for me, I don't really believe in meetings before 9 o'clock in the morning. Unless someone is dying or something is on fire, there is nothing going on at a university that I need to be up at the university at 8 o'clock in the morning for to be in a meeting. There is no curricular innovation. There is no workshop, nothing that is worth my time to get up and get to the university by 8 o'clock in the morning for. 8 o'clock in the morning is my time. I am eating breakfast. I am walking my dog. I am preparing myself for a day of having to deal with people, because that's what it is, right? An entire day of having to interact with people, get things done, whatever it might be. And so as a result, that time is my time. And so in my calendar, if you were to look at it, it would show from 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning every day. That slot on my calendar is filled up and it says busy working. Now, I am not working, but those times are dead to anyone. Now, if you have something that is important and I need to be up at that time, then I can say, oh, hey, I know that on my calendar, it says at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm busy. But for you, I'm going to make you an exception and I will meet you at 8 o'clock. I'll move that other stuff around. And then they respond with, oh, thank you. That's so generous of you. Now, of course, they don't know I'm not working at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm just getting ready for the day. But they don't need to know that, right? Same thing with you. Take your time and fill it up. Fill it up with things called meeting, working, or just busy. Whatever it might be, right? Don't put research or writing, because if you do that, people are going to say, oh, well, you can reschedule that, right? Like you can write at any time. You don't have to have that time to write. Don't put child care. They don't need to know that you're going to go pick up your kids at school. It's none of their business. You're busy. That's what you're doing. Don't put doctor's appointment. Because again, they don't need to know that you have a doctor's appointment. That's your private medical information, and they don't need to know that. They might try to get you to reschedule. They might ask you what's going on. None of that is their business. And also B, because you should not be putting in private medical information like that into a Google Calendar where Google can then scrape that data and then knows that about you, right? If you put, I have spine surgery, right? Well, now Google knows that. They wouldn't have, but now they do. So whenever you're weaponizing your calendar, what you're really doing there is managing your energy, right? You are indicating to others that these are the times that you are allowed to use my energy. Otherwise, I'm using my energy for other things. I'm busy, I'm working, I'm meeting, I'm whatever I'm doing, but I am not free, I'm not available, and it's none of your business what I'm doing. The final thing that I will say to do is develop some recovery rituals. So for me, whenever I have my Thursdays, whenever I come home from that, I'm usually very tired. And even if I had the opportunity to eat before my night class, by the time I get home, it's about 9 o'clock. So even if I ate before then, just being on and thinking and working with students, just being on like that for that long makes me very hungry. So on Thursdays, I'll usually treat myself. Last week, I had Taco John's potato olays, which are just amazingly bad for you. They're fried potatoes with seasoning salt, which is just amazing, but also terrible, and a White Claw, because I like White Claws. Now, I didn't hurt myself. I didn't do anything stupid, but on those types of nights, I do something to help recover myself, to treat myself. But even if you can't do something big, even things just like a short walk in nature, if the weather allows, 5 minutes of watching funny cat videos on YouTube, or even something as small as giving yourself a little bit of chocolate, right? Just anything that you can do to kind of take the edge off and to help you get through those red days. So that way you feel like you've got control of your energy. So that way, whenever you get your yellow and especially those green days for your writing, you can go, you can get things done, you can feel accomplished and good about yourself. So that's going to wrap it up for me. I do want to say that if you are having problems managing your energy and really finding a balance among all the things that you're doing, that is something that I'm very happy to help you with. I have a free 30-minute consultation where you can talk to me about the stuff that you're going through within your position. And then from there, we can talk about what it might look like to have me as your coach. I have other clients who regularly check in with me and tell me about their progress, their ups and downs. And I know that for a lot of them, it's just very helpful to have someone not in their department, not in the thick of whatever politics that they're having to deal with, that they can just get objective advice from, or just a sympathetic shoulder to cry on. So please, my contact information is in the description. I'm happy to talk with you about those things and do whatever I can to help you make sure that you're preserving your energy and meeting your goals, because ultimately those are going to be the things that help you be successful in your position, help you produce research that other people are going to read, they're going to appreciate, and that they're going to cite. Okay, so thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in next week's episode. Hey, co-authors, what's stopping your best ideas from becoming your next big publication? Brilliant research shouldn't die in your drafts folder. Now's the time to bridge the gap between the possible and the published. You can support this podcast by subscribing to it, leaving a positive review, assigning it to your classes, or sharing it with a colleague. Let me know what I can do to make this the best podcast resource for you. And if you'd like to know more about my writing coach services, then you can find my information in the podcast description and set up an appointment. I'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, keep healthy, keep writing, and don't let reviewer 2 get you down.